Okay.
Okay. Good evening, dear professor. We are group 11 and our presentation topic is Islamic finance and banking. And here is you can see our team members and their IDs. And there is our agenda for today's presentation. First, we will start with the understanding of Islamic Bank, and then the history of Islamic banking will be described. And after that, the role of Islam on regulations of Islamic banking and Sharia and Riba will be described. After that, the difference between Islamic banking and conventional banking. And at the end, one of the examples of Malaysia will be provided. So let's get started. So Islamic banking, there are different banking systems in the world, but the most ones are conventional banking and Islamic banking. The main function of conventional banking can be summed up one sentence: the banks borrow to lend. They borrow in the form of deposits and lend this money to earn interest. On the contrary, the Islamic banking system is based on principles of partnership. In Islamic banking, these shareholders, the depositors, and the borrowers all would participate on the profit, loss, and sharing basis. And also there is a framework in Islamic banking, the Islamic banking finance management system that is based on the Islamic rules of Sharia. The main concept of the Islamic banking is prohibition of collection of interest and its utilization for business purposes. Banking in Islam is saving money framework that depends on the standards of Islamic law, additionally known as Sharia law, and guided by Islamic financial markets. Two financial standards behind Islamic banking concepts are sharing of benefits and misfortune gathering interest, or riba, is not allowed under the Islamic laws. Islamic banking concepts have an indistinguishable reason from traditional managing of an account. Aside from that, it works as a per guidelines of Sharia known as fiqhul muamalat. Banking in Islam as an account exercise must be polished reliable with the Sharia and its pragmatic application through the improvement of Islamic financial aspect. As a significant number of these standards where open banking and Islam-based are regularly acknowledged everywhere throughout the quite long time, as opposed to decades. And these standards are not new, but rather than unique state has been changed throughout the hundreds of years. And there could be one more question: how does Islamic Bank work? It's important that you understand the rules to know how Islamic banking works. There is a consensus among Sharia scholars that credit price of commodity can be more than its cash price. The Islamic Banking Fiqh Academy of OIC and Sharia boards of all Islamic banks approved this legality of this difference. However, no addition to the price one mutually agreed, and keeping in the mind the end goal to procure cash without charging a premium. Islamic banks utilize value support frameworks, and this applies if a bank credit cash to business, the business pays back to advance without premium. In the event that the business defaults on the advance or do not win any benefits, the bank doesn't get any benefits either. And that was what basic understandings of Islamic banking and description of how does it work. And the next part about the history of Islamic banking will be described by my teammate Jahangir.
Okay, I'm gonna talk about the history of Islamic Bank. The Islamic banks, the practice of Islamic banking are usually faced business people in the Middle East who started financial transactions with their European countries during the medieval era. At first, they used the same financial principles as Europeans. However, over time, as trading systems developed and the European countries started establishing local branches of their banks in the Middle East, some of these banks changed the local customs of the region, where they were newly created primarily no-interest financial systems that worked on a profit and loss sharing method. By switching this practice, these European banks could also serve the needs of local business people or Muslim. Beginning in the 1960s years, the Islamic banking is adopted in the modern world, and since 1975, many new interest-free banks have been established. While many of these banks were founded in the Muslim countries. The Islamic banks also established in the Western Europe during the early 1980s. In addition, national interest-free banking systems have been developed by the governments of Iran, Sudan, and Pakistan also. Banking interest is haram, and it's clarified with one word in Quran, and it's called riba. Every transaction of the riba comes out be usually not interest. The difference between interest and usually is following. Interest is money you pay to rent out capital. Usually is when you out an exorbitant level of money up from the simple right of having access to that money. So that's also that about the history of the banking. So for the next slide, my teammates are gonna talk about the next slide. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Professor. I will talk about Sharia in Islamic banking and the Riba. Firstly, what does it mean? What does it mean, Sharia? Sharia is in Islamic terminology is a way and a legal system. Allah sent messengers who guide people right path, right way. Prophet Muhammad was the last messenger, and his Sharia represents ultimate manifestation of the divine mercy. Sharia is not limited and has no aspect of human life outside its domain, whether it be personal and familial, religious and social, moral and political, and even in the business, and the economics. Islamic banking or Sharia banking, what is the difference? It's the same. It's one of the most sophisticated frauds that have been committed by the Islamists through their clergy and the banking industries that preys on the largely disempowered Muslims, religious folks at the low levels of society. And as my teammate Jahangir mentioned about banking interest is haram, and it's clarified with one of word in Quran, and it's called riba. Uh, Interest is the money you pay to rent out capital, and there is another terminology, and it's called usury. Usury is when you got exorbitant level of money upfront, simple right of having access to the money. And let's talk about Sharia stocks. A share of a company's ownership is represented by stock. A share of stock is a claim on the company's assets and earnings based on Sharia principles. The concept is known as Musyara and the Sira, which means that it's a Sharia product by nature. However, not all stocks are classified as Sharia complaint. If the stocks are issued by one of the following companies, they may be classified as Sharia stocks. For example, the issuer who declares in its articles of association that its business activities and the management conduct in accordance with Sharia principles in the capital market. In the next example, the issuer who does not declare that its business activities and the management are conducted in accordance with the Sharia principle in the capital market, as long as the issue meets some criteria. In today's age, the number of the Islamic banking is ever increasing, and it has more benefits for society, and most people choose this bank system. My teammate will continue about next slide.
Okay. Now, in order to understand the full meaning of Islamic Bank, we decided to compare Islamic Bank with the conventional bank. So, what does mean Islamic Bank and conventional bank? What is the difference? So, let me first give me some short description of Islamic Bank. Islamic Bank is a kind of bank which really invests on asset-based type of financing. So that means they don't actually have any kind of interest, because as my teammates mentioned before, it's prohibited in Islamic Sharia. So so that's why they actually invest on assets. So they don't actually provide long-term loans with the interest. And by the way, it must be emphasized that in Islamic Bank will not invest to the gambling. That means like kind of if you as an entrepreneur you want to open like alcohol shop, Islamic Bank will not any kind of provide helps or any kind of loans to you, because it's against of Islamic Sharia. So but when it comes to conventional banks, they actually oriented on profit oriented loans. So that means a conventional bank, it doesn't matter for them for what will you use your money. They just simply give a loan and earn through the interest. So see here, if you see like the major difference of Islamic Bank would be, the first is base of profits, for example, base of profit, in terms of base of profit. So in conventional banking, change interest to capital, and that interest depends on time value. So that means if you pay faster, you don't gonna pay so much, but if you delay the payments, you have to pay more than current value. But when it comes to Islamic Bank, they actually don't have such kind of thing. And in Islamic Bank, profits are earned through exchange of goods and services. So as I said, they actually invest on asset based of funding. The second major difference is the medium of exchange. In conventional banking, the financier gives money no, no, this slide, yes. In financer gives money as an interest-bearing loan, regardless of how money is used. However, in Islamic bank purchases the commodity which the client requires. That means if you want to start some kind of business or you want to buy some kind of apartment, Islamic bank will not provide you money, but by the contrary, they gonna buy your debt required thing. I don't know whether it's apartment or some kind of business, and they're gonna be your partner. Like when it comes to conventional bank, it's not. So then about sharing and loss. Here's the main difference. For example, if you take a loan in conventional banks and your business, you lost your business, let's imagine, but you still have a loan. So bank, what needs conventional banks simply need to return your taken loan, and that's all. But when it comes to Islamic Bank will take you as a partner. So that's why loss is divided with you and with Islamic Bank. So about time and value of money, for example, difference. As we know, the conventional loan amount continue on increasing with the passing of time, but in Islamic Bank selling price, once agreed in Islamic Finance, it's not gonna be changed. So if you take a mortgage, it's gonna be increased over the year, but in Islamic Bank, for example, the price which is agreed on the documents will remain the same according to document. So let's talk about the inflation, how it affects inflation also. In conventional banks, due to non-existence of goods and services behind the money, expansion of money creates inflation. However, in Islamic Bank, it's works totally different. In Islamic Bank, no expansion of money takes place, and thus no inflation is available. And let's talk about the affection of Islamic Bank credits to the to the local currency. If you take a loan from a conventional bank, usually you have to pay interest, right? And it creates the negative effect on GDP. However, in Islamic Bank, you will not get such a thing because Islamic Bank doesn't provide such kind of interest-based loans. So that means it will positively affect your GDP also. And it must be emphasized one thing, that conventional banks barely invest on everything according to interest, but Islamic Bank always supports the poor countries also. That means like it's taking loan, taking financial support from Islamic Bank is more useful compared to conventional loans. And the second main difference in Islamic Bank, it's really inconvenient to take a loan. Why? Because according to Sharia, you cannot just take from money if you don't show the service or the asset. However, in conventional bank, it's really easy. You can just go and show your business plan, and they're gonna give you such amount of money which you want, of course, according to document. So at the end, I want to say about the project failure. Yes, project failure was mentioned, by the way, and existence of capital goods. Let's talk about this. In conventional financing, bridge financing and long-term loans are made without the existence of capital goods. So that means like, I will take money from you and I will say to another person, like, I have kind of money and I can provide such amount of money of you. And when another person comes, I will take their money and give to the third party and expect from him return. But when it comes to Islamic Bank, it's not going to work like that because, musharakah and diminishing musharakah agreements in Islamic Bank, after making sure that capital goods exist, then Islamic Bank starts supporting your business or your project. And by the way, about the project, if you start your project and you're having some troubles to finish it, Islamic Bank can take over the top management and will help you to continue your project. While in conventional bank, you will not have such kind of system because it's totally not working there. They just simply give you money and expect you from net worth. So these were the main major difference of Islamic bank from conventional banks. So next slide will be about the country of Islamic Bank. So my teammate will continue the slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Shahzahan. So let's jump up to the centers of Islamic finance. So through the years, the Islamic banking has developed in many countries, basically in Islamic countries actually, and they are Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, Egypt, Turkey, Indonesia, and etc. So we've chosen Malaysia as an example of the center of Islamic finance. So Islamic banking has been launched on September of 1963, and this was happened when the Perbadan Wang Simpanan Bakal Haji has established. This was the kind of organization that keeps the all the savings of the Muslims for their Hajj. So in the 1983, the first Islamic bank has been set up in Malaysia, and the list of Islamic banks has grown to 16 in 2015. So nowadays, Islamic Bank has total assets of 254 billion in Malaysia, and Malaysia is staying on the top positions among the Islamic banking countries. So here is you can see Tohar, please slide. Here is the building of the Islamic Bank in Malaysia. So the first one. So the Malaysian government did a lot of efforts to strengthen the importance of Islamic banking in Malaysia. So the university called Global University of Islamic Finance was launched and established to strengthen the position of Malaysia as an international center of Islamic education. In fact, this university is the only in the world that is fully specialized to the postgraduate study in the Islamic finance. So here is the placement of the Global University of Islamic Finance in Malaysia. So the Islamic banking sector in Malaysia. So due to the pandemic, a lot of corporations, banks went in a bankrupt, but the expansion of the Islamic banking is continued to grow in the pandemic effort during in the Malaysia. So according to the research, the share of Islamic banking was 35% at the end of 2019, whereas 37% in 2020. As you can see, there was a slight increase with this 2% in this pandemic year. So this increase has been reached by the strategy named Islamic First. And with the help of recovery of economic industry, the shares of Islamic finance in Malaysia are likely to grow by 6.7% at the end of this year, I mean 2021. In addition to this, the banks will continue with the promotions of Islamic halal products. So what about the features of the Malaysia's Islamic banking? One of the most unique features of the Islamic banking contains risk-sharing investment accounts, as we mentioned before, so which is now well guaranteed among the other countries. All the accounts on the investments regulated by the DIS, which means Deposit Insurance Scheme, or they stay under the control of Malaysian government. So government will take care of Islamic banks in any case. So even though these accounts are likely to be in loss, but there is not any cases that the account holders are being losses. So that was all about the centrist of the Islamic banking. We tried to represent the Malaysia. So yes, that's all about our presentation about Islamic banking. We tried to give the brief explanation about Islamic banking, and we've represented the history of it, and we've shown a difference between the commercial bank and Islamic banks, and we've tried to explain the terms called riba and riba and Sharia, and at the end we've come up with the example of the center of the Islamic banking. So due to the unexpected, how to say, things, we had to record this representation, and we will send you through the email or the Telegram group. So thank you so much for the attention and the consideration. I hope you will take this to the consideration, and thank you so much. Thank you for you guys too.
Thank you.